Welcome to another episode of Icon Presents. Joining me today is an award-winning actress by the name of Beth Gallagher, here to talk to us about her newest film, To Fall in Love. Ladies and gentlemen, Icon Presents Beth Gallagher.
Alternate sharing something you consider a positive characteristic of your partner.
You're smart.
You're kind.
You're creative.
You're funny.
You're punctual.
You're beautiful.
You're correct.
How do we...
There's instructions. Read one question aloud to your partner, then both of you answer. Answering all of the questions should take about an hour, but time isn't important. You want to start?
Would you like to be famous?
Not like movie star famous, maybe Nobel laureate famous? Make 3 true we statements each. For instance, we are both in this room feeling
Sexually satisfied. Of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing?
Can we skip that one? Where'd you find these again?
The internet.
And it's like a science experiment about love.
Is there something that you dreamed of doing for a long time?
No. I haven't done anything interesting. I am just an office manager in a big building with an empty house with an empty life. Is my time up yet? If you're gonna become a close friend with your partner, share what would be important for him or her to know.
We are close friends.
But are we?
Okay, not to put too fine a point on it, but you are the single most important person in the entire universe to me.
But that doesn't, make us friends.
Promise me you'll really try this time, just for this 4 minutes.
I have been trying! You are so much a part of me that I don't even know where I end and you begin. I want to crawl inside your skin. I love you so much, but you make me forget him.
I don't want you to give up on us. I want you to fight. You know, the first time I saw you, and that moment feels like the beginning of my life.
What, if anything, is too serious to joke about? Nothing.
Welcome, Beth Gallagher. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But first, let's talk about your backstory in acting.
Okay.
So how did you get started?
All right. So I came to acting by way of theater.
Okay.
So I'm in college. I'm a junior.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the University of Scranton where The Office happened.
Oh.
Yes, Dunder Mifflin's not
I
a real
got you.
company. I'm
No?
so sorry to
Not
say.
a real paper company?
No, not a real company.
Oh, man.
But a lot of the stuff in that show is real.
Yeah.
The radio station sticker that's on someone's desk is real.
Oh, okay.
All the footage is real from the opening
Oh,
credits.
so you were looking at that, recognizing some places.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
But I was there long before the show came. So.
Gotcha.
So I was a junior. I took a scene painting class because I needed an elective. And honestly, I thought it would be an easy A. And I fell in love with the community of theater.
Okay.
So for my senior year, I changed my minor to theater.
Okay.
And I didn't have enough time to do acting, but I stage managed every show the theater did that year.
Okay.
And I think I did 2 full loads each semester.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized I had so much less experience than everyone that had been doing theater their whole lives. So I decided to go to grad school. That brought me to San Diego, where I got a master's degree in theater arts, but I still hadn't acted. Through that degree, I got out of school. I was stage managing around town. I was painting sets and doing props.
Gotcha.
And I was stage managing a show called Title of Show. It's a musical. And there's a song in that show called Die Vampire Die. And it's about silencing the voice in your head that is telling you you can't do something.
Okay.
And during a rehearsal for that song, I thought, oh my gosh, I think I want to be on stage.
Nice. So it hit you.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I auditioned for a show at that theater and I was cast, and that was 2010. And that is how I started acting.
Oh, okay, awesome. So, like, we're gonna fast forward a little bit and go into the role that you had. Your character's name in the movie "To Fall in Love."
Marin.
It was Marin. Gotcha. Okay, give us a little bit about that movie, real quick.
So, about the characters in the movie, or you want to know about?
Well, give me the
process
synopsis of the
making
movie.
Okay, so "To Fall in Love" is about an estranged married couple who suffer a tragic loss, and they use this psychological relationship tool called the 36 Questions to Fall in Love.
Okay.
Which is supposed to make two strangers fall in love, but they use it to see if they can save their marriage.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That seems like it's just recipe for disaster, to be honest. The trailer and everything like that for it, I'm like, when I first saw it, so the way I first came across it, I was just, scrolling through my social media and all that stuff. And I followed the Oceanside Film Festival, San Diego Film Festival, and all of that. And the trailer for that, and also your acceptance speech when you won an award, showed up on there.
Oh,
so you have some interesting things out there. I also found your audition tape from 2015.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
That's still out there.
Yes, that's still out there. But I was like, man, that's an interesting premise for a movie. And that was written by who again?
Jennifer Lane is the writer.
Okay, got you. Now, had you ever worked with Jennifer before?
So I actually originated the role of Marin, and Eric Casalini, my co-star, originated the role of Wyatt. In 2017, we did a show at San Diego Fringe. We did To Fall in Love. Okay. And won some awards there, and just both fell in love with the characters and stuck with it over the next 3-4 years.
Right.
Until we found some money and made the feature film.
That's awesome.
And we did it a lot over those 4 years. I went to grad school again in Scotland. We did it as a site-specific show in Scotland. We took it to Edinburgh Fringe. We did it as a site-specific show in San Diego, in Eric's house in PB. So we spent a lot of time with Marin and Wyatt.
Okay. Wow. That's that's pretty awesome. Yes. Okay. So you land this role as Marin, and you've taken this one and kind of really pushed this one out there. And obviously, I love to see the passion that a creator has behind their work, and that's how that's what really resonates with the audience. You can always tell when somebody's really passionate about something and not just phoning it in and just trying something. Yeah. Was this the first big role that you've had, or did you have anything prior to that kind of you feel prepared you for this role?
Well, I had done a number of theater shows in San Diego.
Okay.
Some small roles, some larger roles, some that really will always stick with me as meaningful, even if the role was small, right? It's not quite about the size of the role, but just how much it touches you.
Right.
But this was the first, there are only two of us in the play, and there are practically only two of us in the movie.
Right.
So it is the project that I knew I could deliver what Jenny intended. Okay. And Eric did too. And so I think that passion comes from all of us taking it from the first rehearsal for the San Diego Fringe show, where we just are doing table work and talking about the characters. And I think we probably knew back then this was going to be one of the most special projects in our acting careers. Wow. And I still think that's true. I think it always will be. Yeah. I'm just proud and happy that I got to be a part of it for so long. That's awesome. They kept me around all those years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I know when you were first starting out, you couldn't have thought that you'd be in the position that you're in now, and having this kind of a film that's really touching and inspiring so many people. It's very interesting. How would you say things have changed? Did your perspective when it comes to acting change from this film?
Well, I've spent so much time with Marin over the past, I don't even know how many years now. Yeah. For 7 years. So I have changed dramatically as an actor. And part of the reason that we did it so many times is because I and Eric, we were both changing. Okay. And so we thought, you know what? We're better now. We can do it do it. We can get closer to what
Gotcha.
Jenny wrote now.
Yeah.
And so we would do it another time. We would take to Edinburgh Fringe, or we decided to do sort of proof of concept version of the movie. And so every time we've done it, I thought, here's another chance to get it right.
That's awesome.
And which you don't get to do with movies a lot. It's
exactly.
like, show up, do it. Maybe you get 3 takes, you're done.
Right.
And this was like a completely different process. So I'm so glad those first few performances weren't taped.
Yeah.
So that you can't see the progression, but I know that it's drastically different in the film than it was that first day.
Do you think that so the premise of the movie being the couple that's, gone through some things, and, you take this test, or basically you challenge your relationship and kind of see how that's going to affect you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you look at that and think and have any takeaway that you apply to the way you face relationships these days?
Ooh, I think there's a little bit of give and take, meaning I gave some things to Marin that maybe weren't written, but
right.
I find to be true and didn't conflict with what was written, maybe.
Okay.
And then I think I've taken some things from that experience of working with someone as closely as Eric and I work together.
Yeah.
And also the character herself. And there are some things that I choose to leave because I don't think those are healthy things to be doing in a relationship.
Okay.
I think for me, the place where Marin and I align the most is that there is no point not being honest.
Right.
Whether you say it out loud or not is true.
Yeah.
So you might as well be upfront, as hard as that can be, with your partner.
Yeah.
And see how they handle that. The truth that's already there, whether you say it or not.
Yeah. It was wild. I was looking at the movie and I was like, shoot, man. I see I'm looking at Marin tell Wyatt the whole thing about basically that, they love each other. That's not the question. The question is whether or not they love each other enough to stay together. Yeah. And that's like where I love kind of, hold the relationship together. And I'm watching her and I'm like, man, like I've been married for almost a decade, but my gosh, if my wife said some of the things that Marin said to him, oh man, I'd be upset. And I was like, shoot, dude, that hurt me. That hurt me. So I was resonating with Wyatt. I was like, dude, you gotta be kidding me to do that. I was like, man, so it's a very I always love stories that connect with people like that. It's like, man, it makes you feel some type of way, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. It still made you feel. Right. And I'm like, shoot, I wish that more media these days kind of took that approach and made sure that what they were doing connected with people. I talk about it often, how I feel like, and you see it, these like coming out now when it comes to independent stuff, now that they're able to, because you're not bound by the legality and the rules and box checking and all that kind of stuff that people have to do now, that you're able to still create real art that's going to associate and connect with people. Do you think that what you guys did with this film kind of was a callback to or inspired by older films at all?
I mean, I know for sure that our director, Michael Foster, was inspired by movies like Linklater's Before trilogy.
Okay.
So I know that he wanted to, and also it's written this way to support what he was doing with it. It's a sort of simple, quiet, human story that's very specific to this circumstance. Yeah. But it can touch a broad audience. Right. Everyone has experienced some kind of loss in their life. Many people experience relationship woes. Yeah. A lot of people have heard about the 36 questions to fall in love. So those are all sort of ways that I think our story can touch people. But I don't know if Jenny was inspired.
Okay.
I mean, what I know about her writing this movie, which was not the way that she writes most things.
Okay.
Well, actually, it was a play. So the way she wrote the play was she read the article about the 36 questions to fall in love, which was about two strangers falling in love.
Right.
And in 3 days, she wrote the play.
Wow.
And it is largely exactly the way it came out of her brain.
Okay.
So I don't know what about that. Just the vehicle of the questions inspired her. And
you never know where this inspiration is going to come from.
Yeah.
It's like you reading something and then now it's created its own life. And now it's kind of moving on its own.
Yeah.
Beyond what you initially thought, but you can kind of take that approach for pretty much anything, man. That's great. So tell me, so you did this movie. What's on the next move for you?
Well, I might be going back to school. I know I've already told you about 2 master's degrees, but I might be going back to school. I haven't decided yet. Just for a short amount of time to get an MFA.
Okay.
Instead of an MA. But I think that we are also going to try to convince Jenny to turn another one of her plays into a feature film.
Okay.
Depending on how To Fall in Love succeeds, she can be talked into it, I think.
I got you.
There are 3 plays. I'm voting for 2 of them, but one is the one that I really want.
That's cool. Cool. So how did you get associated with Jenny?
So Eric, who plays Wyatt, brought me the script for To Fall in Love. He had been doing a play with Jenny called September and Her Sisters. And he asked me to read To Fall in Love to see if I was interested in becoming a part of it. And we actually went to see another play together that our acting teacher had directed. We sat down on a bench at USD and we read the script out loud. And we were like laughing and crying. And I said, I have to be a part of this. And so very soon after that, Eric introduced me to Jenny and the rest is history.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And now you have essentially a bond with them that you can kind of continue to grow and kind of build on top of, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you've done the movie, you got the plays and all that kind of stuff, and you're going or thinking about going back to school. I think it's just a trend. Like you're just a serial schooler. You get bored and just go back to school.
I think I might be.
I got you.
I love that someone else tells me what to do all day and that the thing they're telling me to do is to go act.
I got you.
Or read plays or study acting techniques. It's great.
I was about to say, if you like somebody telling you what to do, you can just join the military.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
that.
I'd be in much better shape.
Right, I think I would too. I used to want to join the military, and then I had 2 hip surgeries by the time I was 16, and they're like, "Nah, you good. You can stay at home." Yeah.
Never mind.
You handle that. So, in your acting career, I always love to ask this question, whether it be from music or film or anything like that. I always ask creators the same question. What would you say has been the high point for you? Where you be like, you know what? When I started off, I never thought I'd be to this point that you have. Obviously, we know we're still going and, you want to keep moving forward. But are you looking any point that you can say, yeah, I cannot believe I did this?
There are so many things I think that I either never thought I could do or just didn't know existed when I decided to pursue acting. I've booked some really wonderful commercials that took me internationally to shoot them. That is just like to travel for work and to be on a vacation where you're working. I actually really enjoy because I love being busy and having something to do every day. And so a 5 a.m. call time is great for me. And if we're going to shoot until 8 p.m., that's great. I love that day. That's a good day.
That's wild.
Also, I won an award at a film festival a couple of years ago, and the short film won an award. That meant we screened in Cannes.
Okay.
So I got to go to Cannes. Not as a part of Cannes Film Festival, but we screened in Cannes. During the festival. So I got to see what that is all about.
Yeah.
That I would love to go back one day
Okay.
for a film in competition.
Nice.
And then just seeing audiences respond to Fall in Love. I mean, I don't know if I ever thought I was going to produce a feature film
Mm-hmm.
and star in it, and it was going to get into festivals and it was going to win awards. I don't know. Maybe I don't set my expectations high enough.
No, that's solid. Like as you're going through, because like first, I always say you got to start off with little, milestones to cross. And so if you go there like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be the biggest actress out there is. And then like, but then you lose sight of everything that you've accomplished on the way there.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. So then when somebody asks you, how you feel about your journey so far? Then you're like, oh, I'm not, you're so focused on where you haven't been that you can't appreciate where you have been.
Yeah,
and so it's like, hey, you know what? You got to take that moment of reflection to kind of really do that. Because what I find is that that's one of those things that inspire you to keep going forward. You look back and you're like, oh, shoot, man. Like, especially if you're dealing with a hard time in front of you, but then you take a moment and you look back at like the things that you've accomplished prior. It's like, oh, man, I have this strength and I know I can continue to go on. Because at some point, that issue that you were dealing with before seemed like the biggest thing to you.
Yeah.
You doubted yourself, tried to figure out whether or not you're going to be able to make it. And then, but you stuck to it, you pressed on. And then, now you look back, you're like, oh, wow, now I'm stronger. Now I can go on. Now I have the experience and everything like that to now be able to pass that information on to other people that may find themselves in my same situation in the future.
Right.
So it's wild. So I always ask, so thank you for your answer on that question, but I have to ask the opposing view.
Yeah.
Basically. We know that top point. Tell me about that low point where you thought, you know what? I might just be better off as a stage manager than an actress.
Well, okay. So to me, acting is two different jobs. The business of acting is its own completely separate, unrelated job from actually acting.
Gotcha.
The business of acting is the one that has had the low points.
I gotcha.
But a class or watching a video of someone talking about acting or practicing a technique or going back to school and doing nothing but acting for a year or having a role that you love or just finding a moment of honesty in a scene that you didn't think you ever could. Those things all live in this world that is acting. The rest of it is not what a lot of actors are passionate about.
Right.
It's like a necessity.
Exactly.
That you have to do this other thing. That's the thing that you love.
Got you.
But then at a certain point, you're spending 95% of your time
with this other element.
Doing this thing that you don't love. So figuring out how to balance those or get through one so that you can do the other, that's really difficult.
I got you. Do you have an agent?
I have a commercial agent in LA right now.
Oh, okay. Got you. So you're able to kind of, you don't have to, obviously they're able to take care of some of that business element of things for you, right?
Incredible. I love them. But a theatrical agent is the one, that connects you to the TV and film world.
Gotcha. Are you in the market for one right now?
World. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd love to have it.
I got you.
Yes.
How do you go about finding your group, your support for like agents and all that kind of stuff?
So it can happen a million different ways.
I got you.
In LA, you could just meet someone on the street that's inspired by you. They could see you in a film festival. It could be a friend of a friend or your friend's agent.
Maybe they'll see you on the
casting
podcast.
Director might. Maybe they'll see me in a podcast.
Yes. Okay. Got you. So basically, it's through like happenstance, right? Hey, let's go. You never know. I've had I've gotten messages from people that have been on this show and they're like, oh man, like whether it be musicians and people are finding out about their music and they're like, oh shoot, man, I never thought, or even people connecting with different things like that. They're like, hey, I do this and you do that. Let's do it together.
Amazing.
And I'm like, hey, that's what we do, supporting creatives.
And then you got to have like a follow-up podcast where you put those people together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a bit of information. We're planning an event that's going to be like so Icon Presents is a, creative platform. And so we're planning an event where we actually can host a bunch of like performers and all that kind of stuff, whether it be actors and, showing your films and all that kind of stuff, or whether it be musicians and all that stuff, having, a concert or whatever like that. It's just been so amazing. I'm looking at the support that we're getting online and all that, and people have just been loving it. And, because it's not like a lot of times people feel like you have to go up to LA to have anything like that, but the market becomes so saturated with that. So not having to do all of that and being able to have a strong support system, that's what it's all about. Yeah. That's what we're here for. So it's great. So I want to wrap up, but I want to kind of get a little bit more information on how people can support you.
Getting me an agent would be great.
100%.
So follow us on social media.
Okay.
It's at To Fall in Love Movie on Instagram and Facebook. And we're going to be announcing some things shortly that I can't announce quite just yet.
Okay.
But hopefully this fall will be the time to really be supporting To Fall in Love. And maybe I'll come back and record a little something else.
I'd love to have you.
If I can say it next time.
Yes. Awesome. Well, actually, I always forget. I want you to give one bit of advice that you would give somebody that's starting out and maybe a few steps behind you, but maybe battling with something that you were kind of wavering in, especially when it comes to stepping out and trying that next new thing. What would you tell somebody?
So I'm going to talk about acting, not the business of acting.
Okay.
Because one of them is what I love, and
the other one you are not a fan of.
It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's just not what I'm passionate about.
Right.
So it's something that I have to figure out in order to do the thing that I am passionate about.
I got you.
So as far as acting, being an actor, well, actually, as far as acting, I would say don't let anybody else give you permission. Give yourself permission every single time to be honest, however that shows up for you.
Gotcha.
If you know that you're not being honest, everyone watching you will know that you're not being honest. So you have to be the one to let yourself go wherever you need to. That's safe to be honest.
Okay.
In the scene.
Okay. Nice. I love it. I love it. Another question for you.
Yeah.
You're an actress. You're going to be a breakout star.
Oh, good.
Who inspires you?
Oh, okay. Stanley Tucci is the first person who comes to mind.
Okay.
I think he is not only a chameleon, but masterfully lives in his characters, whether it's an Avengers movie or a psychological thriller,
right,
or a comedy.
Right.
I mean, he's magnificent.
Okay, gotcha. Before you go on, I'm trying to remember who Stanley Tucci is.
Stanley Tucci. So those three movies that I was talking about are he is the doctor in Captain America. He's a doctor in Captain America. Okay. And he's in The Lovely Bones.
Now I know who you're. Yeah. Oddly enough, I'm a bigger nerd for
Easy A. That's the third one.
Which one was
He's the dad in Easy A.
Easy A. Okay. Yeah, I've seen all of those movies. I'm horrible with actors' names and faces and all that kind of stuff.
You wouldn't recognize him anyway because he looks different in everything he does, which is why he's so amazing.
Got you. So I'm like, all right, cool. Lovely Bones. That was a trippy movie. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so Stanley Tucci. Anybody else?
I'm going to go Stanley Tucci, and then I have never seen Florence Pugh be anything less than absolutely brilliant.
I agree.
So
I agree. I mean, even though she was in that really bad Marvel movie, she was still really good.
I know. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah. Black Widow was not it. That was a disrespect. That was disrespect to Black Widow. But she did a good job.
She's like a shining light in everything. I don't know. I think she's just always being honest. Yeah. No matter how it looks. I really honestly think that's what she's doing. Yeah. She's incredible.
I think so. You're an actress, so you get the you'll probably give me more insight on this than I would typically know. When, especially a lot of times, movies comes out a movie comes out and like the role that the actor plays, like for me, sometimes I'm looking, I'm like, my gosh, this is a horrible part, like this character and all that kind of stuff. I just go back. Like I said, I was just ragging on Black Widow. There's a lot of reasons why that movie was bad and why it got a lot of backlash or whatever like that for it. The primarily is because it came out way too late. Everybody's been begging for a Black Widow movie well before they decided to do that. And then they drop it during COVID to do that. And they do this weird thing where Taskmaster is like, so it was kind of like, so in the comics, I don't know if you're familiar with the villain of that movie, Taskmaster. He is he's a big dude. And so his whole thing about being able to imitate people's power sets and skills and all that kind of stuff, it's an interesting thing. And everybody's like, oh, shoot. And then they do this weird thing where the entire movie, they have a dude in the costume, but they don't tell you who Taskmaster is. Then at the very end, when they do the big reveal and the mask comes off.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for a movie that's been out for almost 5 years. In the big reveal, they take the mask off, and it's a little tiny lady in there. And everybody's like, what in the world? This is not Taskmaster. Why'd you do this?
Yeah.
What's the point? There was absolutely no reason for doing so. They had it lined up and made sense for doing it. Everybody's like, huh? Because then it kind of fell through because at that point, the character and all that, then they just killed off the character. And you're not supposed to do that with Taskmaster. And so the issue is, so going back to the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, like you said, Florence Pugh, she did a great job in that movie. And even, what's the girl's name? I can't believe Scarlett Johansson. I've never seen her do a bad role at all. And you know, those movies or those actresses, they do a really good job. Yeah. But the writing of that movie was not it. How do you deal with that? You may have not had to deal with this yet in your career, but if you're looking at long term and all that, how does one deal with the kind of scrutiny and having that separation when you put out a product, you take a role, you put out a product, and you know you don't have final control when it comes to things that go into the editing room. You saw that with Madam Web. Like they'll come out and tell you that was not the movie that we shot. They re-edited that movie to make it look different. To do so, that stuff happened in the editing room. It's not the original movie that they shot. So then you have people like, okay, I'm not going to rag on the actress. I'm not an actor. I'm not going to say, oh man, this person was horrible in this. No, the movie was just bad. It's just it's a difference. How do you deal with that type of scrutiny or kind of looking through that? What is your approach to it?
My approach is that when you make a movie, you really truly understand how much of a collaboration it is. The writer, the actors, the director, the DP, the grip, the PA, the editing, all of it. Yeah. Everyone plays a role in how the day goes to how the movie ends up. Right. And actors, I think, because we're the ones that are visible, get the praise. Yeah. Which is not always deserved. Yeah. You know, maybe that's the editor's praise. Maybe the PA did something that day that put everyone in a great mood and made that scene come alive. You know what I mean? Yeah. All of those things are possible. Right. I think the other side of that sword is that maybe the actor gets the opposite of praise. Yeah. When it doesn't land with the audience. So my approach is that good and bad feedback. Yeah. It's a collaboration. I gotcha. And it's not personal. Yeah. Right? Unless I did all of it. I wrote it. I was my own PA. I acted in it. Yeah, exactly. I directed myself. I edited it and I put it out. Yeah. Then that's all on me. But a lot of people's creative visions are competing and trying to come together and trying to put something out that's cohesive. Yeah. And sometimes the stakes are really high. And when there's already IP, like Madam Web and Black Widow, people are going to have their opinions about it. And I'm only a small part of the process of making a movie. And so I can't take on that criticism as if it's directed at me in the same way that I don't take responsibility for any award that I won because I'm a part of this machine. I think
that's a great perspective to have. Yeah. You see, because when you put out something like you said, that has an established IP already, there's going to be people that have been fans of these things, because a lot of times these characters existed before some of the people that are playing the roles were even born.
Right.
So when somebody comes in and they're like, hey, we're going to change it, we're going to do this, and then they get backlash from people that have been established and fell in love with these characters, and a lot of times have affected their lives to an extent. And a lot of times these things kind of shape who you are, to be honest. Is like sometimes when you're going through a hard time, you may look through, maybe if I'm a kid and I'm dealing with a broken up family or a sickness or whatever like that. I've heard stories of people that were like a guy that there's one of the biggest Star Wars YouTubers on the platform, period. His name is Star Wars Theory. He was battling with sickness but that's that time that he was dealing with that's when he really kind of established his love for Star Wars, and that because that was his escapism, right? And so then when things came out and people were like, and certain things were messed up, like especially with the new stuff that has come out. Yeah. He wasn't vibing with that. You had actors coming out and attacking him, and you're like, yo, that's not the way that you do it. Right. That's not the approach that you take. There's a give and take. Yes, audiences can sometimes be harsh, but understand that you're adopting a platform or something that means sometimes a lot more to them than it means to you.
Yeah, I think also just art is subjective.
Yeah,
and you have to. It's unhealthy to go in thinking that everyone is going to love everything you do. Yeah. And critics are louder than supporters.
Oh, 100%.
So I think all of those things are the tools that you do have to use as any artist, not just an actor.
I got you.
Because the world's not always a happy, nice place.
Nah, not at all.
Even though we're trying to make it happier and nicer, I think.
Right. Okay. I mean this. It's my last question for you. I have to know. If you were to star in any type of genre or any IP that's already established, right? And they decide, hey, we're going to either redo this movie or we're going to do a sequel to it. Whether it be like, hey, we're going to do Crazy Stupid Love 2 or we're going to do Avengers 5 or whatever like that. Yeah. You know, obviously very different genres. Have you ever thought about what that would be? Ever thought about, hey, I would love to be in this type of movie or this type of genre?
I have not thought about it, but something just happened in my brain. Okay. That would be the perfect project. I was going to say I would be okay never working again after it, but that's probably not true. If Aaron Sorkin wrote a heist TV show. Okay.
Who's Aaron Sorkin?
Aaron Sorkin wrote West Wing. Okay. And Newsroom and A Few Good Men.
Okay. Okay. I know two of those things. Newsroom I just finished watching and A Few Good Men. Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say if they redid Newsroom.
Newsroom was
But
great.
I've seen it and I wouldn't want to be doing the same thing that I had seen. Yeah. So I think if he wrote like a heist and Oppenheimer, right?
Did he do Oppenheimer?
No, sorry, not Oppenheimer. The other one recently. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Trial of Chicago 7? I think it was Trial of Chicago 7.
I don't.
He's amazing.
There's been so much out there now that I kind of turned it off and I just started. I'm like, hey, he's good. Okay, so what was his name again?
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin. Yeah. Okay, so y'all heard it. So the moment that he announces that, you're going to be like right in there. We're going to be like, cool. And your now theatrical agent's going to be out there to be like,
I need to get back in that show.
We're in this now. We're doing it. Nah, yes. I love the movie or the show Newsroom. Me and my wife, like, I'm going to tell you, I found that show based off of a Instagram reel. And it was one of those ones where Olivia Munn was talking to the guy in, I believe it was Chinese or whatever. And he was Japanese. Yes. It was a Japanese. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. And it was that clip where like she switches the languages and all that kind of stuff. And it was such an intense, it was beautifully edited. Yes. And that's what I love. Like when you talk about collaboration, like as an editor myself, I know you can create a feeling. I was having a conversation with Gabe out to a comic book artist. And we were talking about how when it comes to like sound design and film and then his work as a colorist and how those things kind of blend in to things, even as a color grading artist for film and all that kind of stuff, all these things that layer. I've watched Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman so many times, not because I just love that movie, but the sound design and cinematography on that movie is on a different level, and people just don't get it. The fact that they have a train track come up when a bus pulls up instead because they decided that was more impactful than a bus, and you hear that and you don't flinch or anything like that. It just conveys a feeling of that with that tone of that the soundtrack. My gosh, you could tell by the way that I'm talking right now how passionate about that type of thing. I absolutely love it. So I do agree, man. The collaboration and all that stuff is beautiful. I love what you can do with it.
And editing is the thing I think that is the most impressive to me.
Yeah.
Like I could write, if I really wrote every day and tried hard, I could direct, I think.
Yeah.
But editing is a skill that I do not have, and I do not understand how people do it. I mean, I know exactly how much footage they have to go through.
Yeah. It's
and
wild.
Every little frame that you choose to keep in matters.
Yeah.
And sends you off on a direction. So, yeah.
That's what I love. What's one of the things I love about social media is the fact that it causes people, because the more artistic and more content tends to resonate with people a little bit more. Like, you have the raw footage of people just, hey guys, guess what? Blah, blah, blah. That's there, but then you have that next element of things where it's like that higher polished stuff. And if you can really do that well, it'll draw people in and stuff like that. Like, I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. But it's been great talking with you. It's been so much fun. So give the people your socials so that they can, know where to find you.
I'm Beth Gallagher, BETHGALLAG on Instagram. And To Fall in Love is To Fall in Love Movie.
Okay.
Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Icon Presents. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Be sure to follow Beth, follow her journey. Check out the movie To Fall in Love. It's so much fun. It really makes you think and really makes you uncomfortable. At least it did for me. We'll see what it does for you. Please share it out there. Get as many eyes on it as you possibly can. Be sure to check out the Icon Presents website, iconpresentspodcast.com, to check out blog posts, upcoming events, upcoming guests on the show, special interviews and everything like that you may not see on the regular stuff. Check out our social media pages on the Icon Presents Podcast. Thank you so much again. Y'all take care.